Good morning. My name is Carlos Delgado. I'm from Peru, and I'm going to share with you some slides from an IPD application of IPD and VDC in an industrial project. So we managed to achieve a reduction of capital expenditures of 1.5%. It doesn't sound like that much. But we need to know that there is a benchmark that there was the project before. And that project had 9.6 of extra capital expenditures. So it would be better than that. And we managed also to have 15% of opex savings. So now we're going to talk about the project context very quickly, the road to that project, to that IPD process, then some perspective, and I'm going to talk about us. So first of all, the context of the project. This is an industrial project, okay, and in this project, we have the it's like a renting project, okay? We, or this company used to buy and build to rent. So in the first phase of the project, they rent just warehouses. But in the path, there are clients that need to do some fabrication or do some other uses, industrial uses. I mean, they could be like big fridge warehouses from -24 to -26 Celsius degrees, or maybe they can produce chocolate or something like that. So in terms of what they need, this company doesn't know who is going to come. So they need to be ready for anything, but there is a limit of investments. So you cannot be that flexible because it's expensive. So we needed to achieve some point where we were able to attend any industrial customer and have them functioning correctly. So what we do know was the previous results from this project. So the previous result was deviation from the estimated buildings capex from 9.6%, and a deviation from the building delivery time from about 4.5 months. The deviation total from the opex was about 5%, and the service availability was in 87% plus a buffer to achieve the 100%, because we always need to have the 100%. But the thing is that the buffer to achieve that 100% and complete that delta from this 87 was really, really high. So this was first the road, the first part of it. I don't know if I can point it. No, okay. Well, the first part of it is to have recognized that we have bad results, and that bad results were these ones. So these bad results need to be measured, need to be quantified in order to know where we are and where we want to be. So for this, the first part is the measurable value, sorry. And with that in mind, only with the measure, the value measured, we are able to know where to aim with the systems, with the systems integrated technical systems. And for that, of course, we need to know what the system or what the processes we need to achieve for that. But for that, we need to know what the team is going to be, because that team is going to tell us or is going to facilitate us the job of knowing those processes and what information they're going to need for those processes. So next step was selecting this team. So we have two parts of this. Why? Because there is some distrust in our industry back in Peru. And there is a phrase that say, the builder is always guilty until he demonstrates the opposite. So nobody trusts the builder, and no builder trusts in clients, because the builders say, okay, the client is always going to try to take a part out of me, and I'm going to be damaged. So I need to be prepared for that, and my defense system is called purchase orders, or it's called change orders, right? So for that, we needed to split the team in two parts. The first part was an internal team that was dedicated to only go to the client. I mean, the client has many organizations in his organization. It's kind of the same thing, but you have the commercial, you have the operational, you have the maintenance one, you have the financial. So, and you have, of course, the project one. But the project one is always with one goal in mind, budget and time. But what about the commercial collocation time? It's important to rent it fast, because the income is going to come fast, so your numbers in financials are going to be better. What about the operational? What about the maintenance? So we needed to integrate all of them. And for that, we managed to share or to form this team. Okay, this team was made by a guy that has a very social profile. Okay, so he would be very useful for us to facilitate the AI sessions for this. Then there was the other guy that was very tended to action. So he was really not very patient, so he needed to do things quicker, like any builder. They don't have time to waste, okay? So he is very good for a construction leader, but not very good for a design leader, because design is always iterating and always searching for the perfect solution. So a builder in design is not quite the best thing to do. But he needs to support design, because always design also needs to move along with the time. And the other guy, that's me, is more reflexive one, so it's ideal for design leader and a support for construction. Okay, but those three profiles, assumed as a team, they made the another picture that is, I don't know if you have played PS5 or football or something like that. It's kind of that. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is going to be perfect. But we need to know what our good points are, or our bad points are, so we can share that and trust each other in determined situations. So with this team, we managed to set the strategy. And then only with the strategy first, we came to have numbers and measures and goals to these things. So what you're going to see here in this tree is, in the first line, in the first yellow line, is the vision of the company. So then with this team and the managers, the commercial manager, the operation manager, financial manager, we stated some real numbers of this. What does it mean? And by this, we defined what the client objective was in a measured way. Okay? And then, only then, we managed to set the project objectives. Of course, time and budget, always, right? But what else? So we needed to have a facility that was easy to maintain, quick to maintain, quick to rent. We needed to have a building that would be flexible to receive anybody. almost anybody. Okay, so in the third line in red, you have the project objectives. Sorry about not zooming in. That I made a mistake. I uploaded the PDF and not the PowerPoint, so the animations are not here. Sorry, but these project objectives were the ones that were set after we set the client objectives. And with that, we have that table that you have on the right that were the objectives, the project objectives and the client objectives, their metrics, and their value, their goal value, okay? Okay, here we have this behind that text. We have a process of maintenance, okay? This process of maintenance, I've talked about this 2 years ago in the summer program, so I didn't consider to explain too much about this, but it is about why we have this 87% of availability plus expensive buffer to cover it. So it was because the people that have the maintenance, they needed to have the information. So in the schedule cases, they didn't have any problem because they're scheduled, they are trained for that. But what happened in the problems that are not scheduled? There were about 10% of the cases where they have these issues. And from those issues, about 8% were simple things to do, and the other 2% were things that were more complex. They needed to call the vendor, they needed to call the construction team, but the construction team were building something else, so they didn't have the time to attend right away. And what did it mean? They needed to wait. And that waiting time is a time that the service is not available for the clients. I mean, the main source of the service. So what did the operation team did? They activate the buffer, and they needed to rent Grupo Electrógeno. I don't know how to say that in English. Leonardo, help? No? Okay. So they needed to rent something outside the internal building so they can cover the difference, okay? But that was because of they couldn't find information. So when they asked for information, then the builder answered, okay, do you remember the 113 files that I gave you? Okay, one of those files have the answer. So this guy won't ever going to go to do that. So he preferred to wait until the builder is available. So these were the problems. So where were the problem? The information was not available. All the information that we have during the design phase, during the building phase, etc., was not at the hand of the people who were handling the building. So it was one issue that we solved by having the right information in the right moment and also delivering that information to the operation team so they can have this information just by tapping in the equipment they needed. They tapped, they could have the information, they had the link, they went to the Dropbox or wherever the cloud is, and have the information specific that they need in less than a minute. So they could act right away. The latency time of response in maintenance was really quick. And the other one was about censoring, because it was very manual. So they made some adjustments and they needed to go and check several places to see if it's working. If it's not working, they needed to go back to the panel and set some settings and check again. So with this censoring, they save also that time. And it's not quite expensive censoring. I'm not talking about BMS. I'm just talking about censoring one way. So they still are manual. You know, in Latin America, man hours are very, very cheap compared to here. But in general, the model was updated with this, and the availability was about 99% as a result. And the buffer was reduced from 35,000 to almost 4,000 souls. So, as this, the same thing with the collocation, commercial collocation, because the commercial needed to have the information right away to answer quickly to the technical questions of the clients, because the clients were more technical than other things, so they needed to choose right and quick the right place to place their fabric, their business. So how did we do that? The same thing. We managed to put the right information in the language that this guy can understand, in the language that they understand. That's very important. So the translation part of what the maintenance guy understands or what the designer understands are not quite the same. So it's important for that. So once we have that, then we were able to integrate the technical systems, and we were able to know what the information was that we needed, right? And for that was the only way that you see the upper arrow is the only way that we can simulate and check every iteration if we are getting to the measures that we needed to get, okay? And then we went to the second part of the exercise, the second part that was extending the team. But this distrust thing that I commented before was because we have actionists, we have very stakeholders, I mean the guy that, very investors, okay? So you cannot choose a construction company in the beginning because you could be, not sued, but you could be in a very uncomfortable position because they always ask, why him, why not other? Why didn't you compare? You didn't did any bidding. How is that he came up here? So there are too many questions that need to be answered, not only to the investors, but also to the banks, because the banks are going to finance that, and the less complex the process, the less is the fee that they're going to give you. So we needed to set that. In order to that, we needed to make a bid with some of the constructors that were supporting us. So we told us, you can support us, but we are going to bid anyway. If you win the bid, then you can go to the second part. That is going to be an integration agreement that we were graphing here in a flow, in a behavior flow of these organizations. Okay, so we did it. We selected the best ones, and with those best ones, we managed to agree a behavior with in detail. This is a summary of the behavior, but it has a lot of flows, because when everything is okay, there's no problem. The problem is when something goes wrong. So when something goes wrong, 5 minutes, okay. When something goes wrong, we start to think about, okay, change order. I need a change order. Or okay, look what has he done bad, so you can grab a piece of a budget from him. So that behaviors are activated in bad situations. When everything goes okay, it's not a problem. So this was a guide for the bad situations. When something bad happens, you do this. First this, and then this other thing. So this was a guide, and this guide also has the sharing of this benefit or suffering, because we are together in the goods and in the bad. So if it goes bad from the bidding offer, okay, we are going to share that. If it goes good from the bidding, we are going to share that. So these were the sharing rules because there are some criteria. I'm going to talk something just general. If I have a building of 14 floors, and I say, okay, I can optimize, I need 13 floors. Okay, that floor is going half and a half. That's not something to share, right? Because it is not that case, because you haven't done it. So this mechanism were explaining very much this. So legal part is not a problem. And with these 7 companies were the ones that signed this. And we managed to have a pivot clause between them so they can collaborate each other. And with this, we have the whole team, and we have the strategy set. So we needed to deploy. So for deploying, we needed to go to the application of BIM, ICE, and PPM in order to let us do this whole stuff. So the implementation phase was first setting the environment, the virtual environment, setting the physical environment, so people that were in the field and not in the field could collaborate. We also set the BIM model, the ECD, the common cloud environment, and we also set the simulation programs to do this. No, it's not only the model. I mean, the whole technology was coordinated to do this, and the BIM execution plan also was aligned to each of the client objectives and the project objectives, and we make sure that everyone could understand that. And we started to plan and iteration, and these ICE sessions were intensive in PPM and ICE and BIM. I'm sorry, with BIM and PPM. So within this, we were able to manage about 32 people to 35 people working at the same time, and with 2 facilitators for this, and 2 translators for the process into GANs, because client understands GANs. Client, you don't go with the process to a client. It could cause a heart attack to him. So he needs to see GANs. So we have those translators and that. And then the information that we were building weekly was checked in the BIM model, so that the guys at the maintenance could have this in real time. So they were able to do that stuff that I showed you before in the process I explained of maintenance. And with that, we were able to forget that sad phase, and we started to look at the good results. And the results were were exactly, okay, the animation is not here, but the results were that we managed to have 1.5 of reduction of capital expenditures. And 1.5 means that we have actually 3, because 1.5 was for them. We shared that. So our share was 1.5. And we managed to have 20% of opex reduced. And we didn't deliver before time. We delivered on time, but that's a lot. So compared to the 4.5 months later. And we managed to have the availability in 99%, and the co-location, the commercial co-location, was really fast compared to the prior project. So the return of the investment was better. Some perspective, in a company that has several investors, it is complicated to introduce collaboration early because of distrust regarding mismanagement of the contract allocations. And that's I think we need to address in a better way. It is necessary to have a market cost base in order to build trust, to build a base where we are and what we need to do, and not just a feeling, but it's the market now. So from that value, we need to be better. We need a new way to negotiate these contracts for the bank, okay? Because the banks gives you a fee based on, you always tell me you're going to finish in January, and you never finished in January before. You finish in June, or you finish always later. So you always tell me that you're going to spend 10 millions, and you spent 11 million. So that kind of stuff, it's based in the database of the banks, and that is translated to this rate of risk. That means more fee, more rate in the interest of the loans, right? So with this new model, we could demonstrate that we do not have that risk, and the rates could be lower, then the investment would be better. And incorporating the designers in the benefits of and sufferings is also a point that we need to resolve, because they were not that much, they didn't agree that much in sharing the sufferings or the results, because what's some complex for them. So we need to solve that. And thank you very much. You have seen a small view of our labs. So if you want to be part of this, we are supporting companies, not only in Peru, so all around the world. We have a virtual company, actually, and so we are happy to collaborate. These things are really in our DNA, and it's very exciting to see how industry can be changed in a good way. Thank you very much.